Okay, I think I started like right on time for once, which is amazing. I mean, like to the second. To the second! I don't know, actually. Because this is so weird, and I don't know when you guys actually start seeing the feed. But there you go. Because, see, to me, as soon as it started, I started talking, but you guys see at least 10 seconds of me staring like an evil mastermind at the screen. Anyways, my name is Nick. This is Board Game Brawl. If you have no idea what's going on here, we are doing our weekly Q&A. This is where anyone can ask me any questions they like. I am not bound by any sort of laws of man or God to answer those questions, but I will read all of them, and the ones I don't want to answer, I'll mock incessantly. So there you go. But yes, you can ask me anything, board game related, of course, life related, politics related, whatever. I don't care. Excuse me. I'm also dying, so if you pardon me. Obviously, my output has sucked, but it's better than last week. I have a lot of previews. I don't know what it is. I think I need to start talking to the people who who hire me to do previews, because everyone is launching in the same week. And it's not helping anybody. So that's a bit of a frustrating thing. I would have had more reviews out if it wasn't for that. And there'll be more next week. But that's okay. I still have a lot of reviews coming. And there should be tomorrow I'm going to try to do 4 reviews tomorrow. Including Justice League Hero Dice, Automobiles. Where is this? Where's the box? All right, I can't get to it easily right now. But the infamous now slime adventure, The Mystical Forest, which I have quite a lot of thoughts on and was quite a thing I started over on Board Game Geek. And then what else? Several different things. There's things I'm playing tonight that I'm probably not going to get a chance to play enough to review, but at least I'll get the ball started. Besiege review will be coming very soon. Ninja All-Stars, I'm going to give a shot and see what all the hubbub is about, one way or the other. I'm looking at my stack. Oh, I have City of Iron 2nd Edition. Ooh, I want to play that. I think one play of that should be good enough, since it's 90% the same game, I believe, just kind of revamped artwork and design, and they changed the turn structure. Like there's no longer a bidding track, something like that. I don't know, I'm quite curious to see what it's like, and I was critical of it when I did my Kickstarter update, because I was like, come on, really? City of Iron has only been out for a couple of years, and it seemed like a fine game. Why not just keep your game in print? But perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps this is revolutionary. We'll see. Okay, so let's get to the questions. Actually, I'm sorry. Someone was texting me. Oh, smiley face. Okay. That's simple enough to respond to. I can wait. All right, let's get to the questions. How many people do we have watching right now? 38. That's not bad for the start of this. But if you guys can please spread the word on social media, that'd be really cool. Thank you. Did you back Mythos Tales, and what do you make of the late announcement that the stretch goal 10th case had to be paid for? Well, I don't know what that is. Mythos Tales sounds very familiar, and let me see what that is right now. Oh, is this the... Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, this is the game from 8th Summit, and I'm like, another, what looks like a storytelling Cthulhu game. I have zero interest in it. The last one I took a chance on buying just myself personally at retail was Cthulhu's Vault, and it was terrible. So no, I'm not going to do that. And I don't know why they would make you, well, I don't know. A lot of companies, a lot of Kickstarters will, I'm scratching myself like a meth addict because I shaved this morning and I didn't do it very well. A lot of companies will do a Kickstarter project and make you pay for certain stretch goals. Like Cool Mini or Not does it. You've unlocked the ability to buy more stuff. It's never that fun. You always prefer the stretch goals that are just like, hey, you get more free stuff with what you're already paying us. Hey, Nick, question about Heart of Crown. Do you have any expansions? If so, have you reviewed them? If not, what do you think of them? And if you haven't, you should. It would help people decide. Well, thank you for telling me what to do. Do you have anything else you'd like to put on my itinerary? I'm just busting your chops. Yes, I do. I have at least 2 of them. And I have played with them, and I'm considering doing a review while striking now while the iron is hot. It's up on Kickstarter. It seems like this would be the time to do it. The Heart of Crown things are in a very weird spot. Part of me is like, I should just wait, because I'm not going to review them again. Like, I'll review the base game again when Japanime puts it out. because it's nicer, it's been revamped, and I don't like my old video because it's got my old camera and my old porn stash. So fine. But would I review the little expansions again? Shouldn't I just wait for the English one? I'm debating it because it also involves me. Well, again, it's using sleeves and the paste ups, and I'm like, I don't know. One of them I didn't even paste up because I just had them off to the side, and there weren't a lot of cards, so I just told people I don't feel like doing this, so just refer to the list. So now I have to do that. Whatever. Hi Nick, I finally got Cryptozoic to tell me they no longer have the Street Fighter or Darkstalkers licenses from Capcom. Did they ever have Darkstalkers? That would have been cool. Is it safe to say they missed the boat with not using the IPs they paid for? Well, yeah, for sure. I think a Darkstalkers expansion for Mitching. A Darkstalkers expansion for the Street Fighter game would have been amazing. And a lot of other things too. There's probably a lot of things. No, Capcom does other games, right? Couldn't they? Did they do BlazBlue and Guilty Gear? Whether you like those types of games or not, the characters in them are super interesting, which is really the only thing that you should be interested in any of those deck builders for. So yeah, they did drop the ball. I just picked up the XCOM, the board game. I have to say I've never gotten so stressed out in a good way just setting up a game. Yeah, I like that game a lot. I didn't hold on to it just because after I played it like 5 times, I said, oh, this game is never going to feel different. And I don't think, and they should have put out some sort of content for it by now, but what do I know? Out of curiosity, why does everyone rank Shadows over Camelot so highly? I own it, but rarely play it. I feel there are loads of better hidden trader games. Battlestar Galactica for one. Well, that's strictly a matter. It's like your opinion, man. I happen to like it a lot. I like the components. I like the appearance. I like the fantasy theme more than I like the Battlestar Galactica theme. It plays in, while it still can be a fairly long game depending on the number of players, it is much faster than Battlestar Galactica, if you're forcing me to compare the two. And I don't know, it's very simple mechanisms. It's easy to teach. It does go up to 7 players out of the box, which is great, and 8 if you have the expansion. It's always worked for me. There's certainly people in my group who don't like it, but I've always had a good time playing it. So that's why I rate it highly. Nick, what are your thoughts on Angry Joe's upcoming Kickstarter project for his board game crossover between Dragon Ball Z, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter? It's also fully licensed somehow. I have no idea about that. I don't follow Angry Joe. I know all of a sudden, from what I've heard, he's into board games now. So whatever. You know, it's interesting because I'd like to see him take sort of some of the wind out of the sails of some of the people who are closer competitors ahead of me. Like him jumping into the field doesn't really hurt me because I'm still a small fish, but yeah, you know, just a thought I had. But no, I don't know anything about that. Nick, do you happen to have a copy of Kunitori? Not the World is on Fire one. If so, would you be willing to part with it? I've been looking everywhere for it. I don't. I think I have the World is on Fire one, and if I had the original, I would keep it. So, so your question was ill-conceived at best. I'm just kidding. See. All right, Quarantine and Adam Bishop, give it a rest for a minute. Other people ask questions. If a fan would be headed out your way, how willing would you be to hang out and play games? How would one set up something like that up? I would just tell people that I have I have a weekly game group that happens twice a week, and you should stop by then on meetup.com by the same name. What are the odds we're going to see Hitler as a mastermind in the Captain America expansion for Legendary? Slim to none, but that would be pretty amazing, and I would expect and hope that someone would make a fan expansion for that. There's a lot of fan-created content for Legendary, and if they haven't done that already, they should. I'm not sure that I would play it, but there you go. Actually, since my entire Legendary is sleeved already, I am more tempted to... itching. I am more tempted to... actually use fan-made content. I've heard there was a really great one. Someone was sharing with me. Sorry. Good afternoon, Nick. How's it going? Cool t-shirt as always. Thank you. Speaking of fan-made stuff, have you tried out the fan-made rules variant for Super Dungeon Explorer called Ludometer Mode? It seems to be highly regarded for reducing the playtime. Well, there was a Ludometer in the game. Is it bringing back the Ludometer from the first edition? I don't know. I will check that out. I'm going to copy your question and make a note of it. I don't know why I winked. I'm really doing it. Wink, wink. No, I'm doing it. Later. Have you finally gotten around to playing Besieged with the FAQ? I have. I'm going to be doing a review soon. Actually, there's some people in my group who still wanted to play it, so I might just play it again, even though I think I've got a handle on it, but they want to try it out. So, what are your thoughts on the cost of the Heart of Crown and Kickstarter? Are they asking too much for the expansions? The market wants what the market wants, or whatever the market will bear, it will bear. And this Kickstarter seems to be doing very well. Would it do better if the expansion was more reasonably priced? Probably. I think it is kind of high. I think it's $50 just for the base game, not even counting the expansions. And the expansions aren't very big, by the way. I wish I had one on hands to show you. But the expansions come in like a... that's not a good example. I don't know what a good example would be. Well, whatever. The expansions are about like yay big, and they're like in a little tuck box. If anyone out there has seen the little expansions for the DC Comics deck building game, like the Legion of Superheroes expansion, that's the size. That is almost exactly the same size as the Heart of Crown expansions. There's not a lot of stuff. So, it's... I don't know. I don't want to second guess them. To be honest, I'm just very, very, very happy that Japanime is doing it. Because there was a reasonable expectation that Heart of Crown was just never going to come over here, despite how good the game is. And now it is. And I think that it's not, like, obscenely expensive. It is a boutique item to get it from Kickstarter. One thing I always remind people, too, is that it might be nice to get a discount on Kickstarter, but I wouldn't expect it. You are funding the game, after all. So, I don't know. If it bothers you, wait. If you want it early, and that's not necessarily a guarantee, give it a shot. I don't see how $20... Someone else says, I don't see how $20 from expansion is an unfair price. It depends. I mean, it's different for everyone, right? Let's see. What? Thank you, YouTube, for skipping a bunch of questions, which happens all the time. Yay. Is my camera lens dirty? I don't know. Doesn't look like it. Probably shouldn't do it now. It's probably good enough for now. Will you be buying the Cartoon Network crossover Crisis deck building game? I don't even know what that is. I have no idea. Wait. Actually, maybe I did hear that. Let's see. Unless you're just screwing with me. If you're screwing with me, I'm going to ban you from the channel right now. Oh, I got to ban you. I don't see it in Board Game Geek. You're wasting my time. You are wasting my time. Oh, okay. You're lucky. It's a real thing. I'll still ban you. Whatever. Could you build a new house with all the game boxes you now have? Or at least a doghouse for Bugbear? Keep up the good work. I could make a very good doghouse for Bugbear. Like, pretty spacious, really. Hell, I probably could have built one with all the expansion boxes I've thrown away. Let's see. In a nutshell, are the Heart of Crown expansions worth it? If you like the game, have you played the game? If you've played the game, then like any other expansion for a deck builder, yeah. Any information or guesses about the next Eldritch Horror expansion? Well, I do believe that was announced, right? I'm a little bit out of the loop when it comes to some new stuff that's announced. Obviously, when something is a huge expansion or a huge news and it takes all the air out of the room, then I know about it. But no, it looks like they haven't even. It's not in Board Game Geek yet. I'm okay with them stopping, personally. But I think the next one will be a small one because it's probably time for another small one. And I don't know what they would add at this point. Most of the major ancient old ones have been represented. And most of the characters, maybe all of the characters? I'd like to see them go in a completely new direction, but we'll see. Have you tried Helionox The Last Sunset yet? If so, how does it stack up as a deck builder? I have tried it. I am going to review it very soon. Maybe tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Hey Nick, my friends and I have started a YouTube channel and are having fun with it, but looking to get more views and hits. Do you have any recommendations for where to post links for more people to see? I did an unboxing for Hero Dice and only have 12 views. Would love to get more people to check it out. Very simply, you just have to go on all social media. You do Facebook, do Twitter. I don't use them, but you could try Reddit, although Reddit's weird because if people see you posting links, they say, oh, you should be promoting your channel here. You have to contribute to the community. Whatever. That's why I don't like Reddit. Instagram, all those different things. Like I said, I don't use all of those, but I know you could probably get a lot of traction from that. Board Game Geek. Are you on Board Game Geek? Do you even have an account? I'm actually shocked how many people don't have an account who are into the hobby. So go there and go to the game page and post it there. I would recommend. Nick, would Arcadia Quest get a solitaire PvE type of rule set? It would make sense, right? I'm surprised they don't have that already. Maybe eventually. Nick, what do you think of DC's Legends of Tomorrow? I'm excited to see where this show could go, like meeting Jonah Hex and Sergeant Rock. That would be pretty interesting. I like Legends of Tomorrow. I haven't watched this week's episode yet that wraps up, hopefully, the Russian thing. It's got some rough edges. I don't know really how to describe it. I mean, the premise is sound. I think that some of the characters are amazing. I love Captain Cold and Heatwave. I love Rip Turner's okay, or Rip Hunter, he's okay. I like the Atom. I like the Professor. I don't like Jax, the Professor's partner that they become Firestorm with. Sarah's okay. I think that she's kind of served her purpose at this point. I don't know. It's sad to say that. I don't know. I think I don't like Hot Girl at all. I just think that some of the interactions with the characters are just very awkward and weird. There's not a lot of character development. I think that Vandal Savage is, while the actor's fine, he's not a very interesting villain. He's just like villain because he's evil. There's not really a lot of depth to him. He doesn't feel like this uber like threatening thing. They should have gotten like Mads Mikkelsen to play that role, and I would have been like, oh yes, but no. So I don't know. It's a rough show, but I hope it gets better. Hey Nick, do you think FFG will announce a new game or expansions or new additions soon, except for their LCG's production line before Gen Con? If yes, what announcements do you expect and hope for? I don't know. I would expect a Force Awakens game at some point, right? I'm surprised they don't have one already. They're really, I mean, look, whether you like it or not, they're going to run that Star Wars license into the ground because they have it, and it's immensely popular, and it's worked out for them, and they've actually made quality games with it that are selling really well. A friend of mine hates Star Wars, hates it like poison. But the games still sell, despite how many people have that opinion, and I'm sure there's a sizable amount of people that have that opinion. So expect Star Wars stuff. People keep saying Twilight Imperium. I don't think so. I think that game is done. Probably an Eldritch expansion, like I said, a small one. I mean, really, they should, unless they're completely abandoning it, there should be a Forbidden Stars expansion. I mean, I'm shocked that there isn't one already. Really surprised. And it's possible that it didn't sell very well. I enjoy the game greatly, but it's not for everybody, so I can understand that. But I'm really surprised there hasn't been one by now. And if they do, if they do a slew of announcements very soon, and there isn't one, it's safe to say that game might be dead. I don't know. And people have criticized me for saying things like that before. like um like, oh, a game didn't get an expansion within a year, it must be dead, right, Nick? But this is Fantasy Flight Games we're talking about. They put out expansions for everything, several expansions, very quickly. That's the thing. What is NAS? I don't know what NAS is. You have to explain to me what NAS is, because I don't know off the top of my head. What do you think of the new Arcadia Quest Dungeon Delver that is coming out on Kickstarter in a few days? It looks interesting. I need to know more about it. I really wish Cool Mini or Not would put a little more time in between their projects, but I guess I can't blame them. Hold on, there's a troll here I have to ban who's saying that Batman is not a superhero. She says no discussion is needed, but I'm going to say that you should all discuss it with her immediately. Do you ever shop at the Board Game Geek stores? Are there any promos that you hunt down and you consider a must buy? Well, I do shop at the Board Game Geek store, and you should go over there and check out the first thread that is called Geek Store Update for February. and watch the fireworks. But yeah, I mean, there's promos for DC Comics deck building game. There's a lot of little Japanese games. There's some cool stuff in there. Board Game Geek Store currently not my favorite place, says Marianne. Well, I can understand that, Marianne, but you know, it's a interesting situation for sure. If anyone wants to know what I'm talking about, go over there and read those threads. Thoughts about the new Privateer Press Kickstarter, Widower's Woods? It's probably being the same system as the Undercity. I want to like it, but yes, I really want to go and look at that page in some more detail and see if they put any rule set, because Undercity could work, but it needs something. It needs better tiles. It needs better combat system. It needs to be more engaging. It really feels like a predecessor to Descent. And Descent does everything it does better. It feels like a prototype of a better adventure game. Nick, how many items are you expecting from the Kingdom Death Monster Kickstarter? I got every expansion except for the Lion God. I don't know why. I should have just got it. Now I feel awful and stupid because I don't like the miniature for it at all. But it's more game content, so I should have gotten it. But I'll have to wait. I'll have to buy it with all of you, you know, rabble. I'll get it eventually. Hi, Nick. Since the Lantern Festival won't be in this wave, for which expansion are you the most excited? I think that tree one seems really interesting to me because it's so different than all the other ones. I also like the Dragon King, of course. The Dragon King seems obvious, but so I'm almost passing over that. That is like the thing. That is amazing. Anyone who got that for, what was it? Some crazy, it was like $40 to $50. It's insane compared to what it's going to be. The miniature itself should be over $100. It's like the size of those colossals and gargantuans from Privateer Press, and it comes with expansion content. It's amazing. Are you interested in the forthcoming Elder Sign expansion? Well, I've had Elder Sign sitting in my collection with, I think, one of the expansions that I got in a trade for 2 years and haven't played it, so I'm going to say I'm not that terribly excited to get another one. Where do you sell your games? Do you try to get your money back or just dump them to get rid of them? I never ever try to get your money back. Unless you're talking about some sort of Kickstarter game with exclusives, it's not going to happen. Even for most Kickstarter games, that just doesn't happen, except unless it says "Cool Mini or Not" on the box. I usually just sell them to my patrons. Actually, if you go over to Patreon.com and you patronize me, so used to being patronized, you can back at a level that will let you get access to my sell sheet, which I put out once a month. And first come, first serve, people can buy games from my collection at a pretty steep discounted rate, I think, plus shipping. and that's a good way for me to help out the fans who want games rather cheap. And it's not always just like, here's some bad games that I don't want anymore. A lot of times it is games that are good, but let's look at my collection. I mean, this isn't even everything. I literally don't have room anymore. There's just piles of board games all around. So I need a garage just to keep all of them. So that's a good way for me to give back to the fans. And also, if games linger too long and just aren't selling there, I just sell whole lots of games over on eBay. And I can't tell you when that's going to happen, so don't ask. Have you seen the trailer for Suicide Squad? Harley doesn't have her accent. How is Harley without the accent? I think I saw 1 or 2 trailers. I'm not sure I saw one that has any of them talking a lot, so I don't think I've seen that one. Nick, do you watch Game of Thrones? If so, who is your favorite character? I'm a Daenerys fan, and if you're not, you're allowed to be wrong. I like Daenerys okay. I am a fan of Arya, and I'm a fan of Brienne of Tarth. Although, okay, in the book, I'm still a fan of Arya. I don't care for Brienne all that much. Brienne's character really came to life on the screen for me and became much more interesting. What's going on with her and Podrick. And Tyrion, of course. But I think Arya is the most interesting. It's because no one in Game of Thrones can be said to be doing the things that happen in typical fantasy books. That's why Game of Thrones, or I should say A Song of Ice and Fire, is so compelling, because it breaks the tradition of the Tolkien fantasy. And yet, I think out of anyone, Arya's journey, and I haven't read the last book, by the way, or the most recent book, I know, The Dance of Dragons. But I think up to the point where I read and up to the point I've watched in the show, Arya's journey is the closest to the hero's journey, which is, child, and you see this in like Japanese RPGs as well. Child is orphaned or loses her village and whatever, and or both, and has to set out on a quest and learn something about life in the world and grow stronger and that kind of thing. And obviously, because it is George R.R. Martin and it is this series of books, it is much darker and twisted, her path, than might otherwise be the case, but yet it still feels like the hero's journey. And so I think I identify more with that, and we wish her well, and we see her in this world which is full of jackals and darkness, and hope that nothing bad happens to her. But we wish that for Sansa as well, and things didn't quite work out well for Sansa. So and I like Sansa too. Sansa is kind of unbearable in the first season, of course, because that's kind of the point. But then you really start to sympathize with her. So there's a lot of great characters. I think when people ask me, what do you like about a thing? Like, what makes this series or this video or this movie or this anime, what makes it more compelling than C, D, E, F, G? I say characters. I can forgive a lot about a story and its plot holes and its, sort of dull aspects if the characters are compelling and interesting, even if we can't necessarily relate to them, if we can empathize with them, sympathize with them, these types of things. This is what I keep trying to tell people who complain about The Force Awakens. And I say, I understand that they were just retreading the first movie. I loved almost all of the people in that movie, and I wanted to just see them talking and interacting with one another, and that's what kept me interested, and that's why I loved it. Can you give me top 5 solo games off the top of your head? No, because I'm going to be doing a top 10 list for that soon. But many things will be considered, is what I will say. I'm sorry, I'm sifting. 69 people watching. Are you reading or interested in the Alan Moore comic Providence? I am not. One day I would like to read up on all of Alan Moore's stuff, including his run on Swamp Thing. Hi, do you think games should be used to teach moral lessons to children like many children's stories? No. I mean, you can certainly do that and attempt that, and I think that there's a lot of forms of media and art that transcend whatever its boundaries are, like video games that are compelling and tell a narrative that raises above just like get from point A to point B. But as far as like teaching children moral lessons, I don't think that's... You can do that, maybe it'll be good, and I think it'll be interesting and it'll break the mold, but overall, I think the point of games is to have fun. I think anything else that happens is ancillary. Games in and of themselves can be like, hey, we've taught you how to share and cooperate with a cooperative game, things like that, but I think if you set out for that to be the case, it's just going to be awkward and weird. Do you watch the Young Turks on YouTube, since it's a new channel that aligns its views similar to you? Is it new? Well, it's been around in one form or another for a while. It was actually on Sirius. They were a radio show on Sirius. I guess this is telling you that I know of them. But they were a radio show on Sirius, I believe, or XM. And then they had a website, and they were just releasing stuff to their website, I think. And then they had a YouTube channel. I thought they were older than that, though. But yes, I do watch the Young Turks just recently. Within the last like 3 or 4 months, I've started watching them. Not regularly. I follow them on Facebook. If I see an article or a video that I think is interesting, I'll watch it. I'll watch some of their live coverage of the debates and things like that. Yeah, I mean, their viewpoints line up almost perfectly with mine. They are much more progressive than, establishment Democrats. To say it pretty mildly, they are Bernie Sanders followers, hardcore Bernie Sanders followers. There was a really great video that the lead host, Cenk Unger, put up. I never say his name right. Cenk Unger, whatever. Cenk. That he put up on the Facebook or something last night about new polls that were put up by Quinnipiac about the likability of candidates and the favorability and the electability of candidates, and how Bernie Sanders killed everybody in all the polls. So yeah, I really appreciate their take on things, because I am uber progressive in every way, almost every way possible, I would say, including my whatever, but. So yeah, they line up pretty well with me. How do you feel about being the man single-handedly responsible for getting a Board Game Geek store announcement moved to the Religion, Sex, and Politics forum for the first time ever? As someone in that thread said, I do feel as if I'm owed a micro badge for that, but I would share it with people who took the flag and ran with it, because all I did was say, hey, you have a game in your store that you probably didn't actually open and look at that is about slime monsters being played by the players raping young anime-looking girls. I'm not telling you how to run your store, and you can sell it if you want, but it's very curious to me, based on policies that Board Game Geek has had in the past, that you would allow that. So my question, have you actually looked at the game? And that set off a firestorm of shit. And most people, were totally in agreement with me, like, whoa, this is pretty gross, and why wasn't there some sort of warning? Again, and then one dickhead misinterpreted my comment, or as I made a funny meme about, said, just read the first sentence of what I said, like, is any of this stuff vetted by Board Game Geek? And he said, ew, it's not Board Game Geek's job to censor our stuff. And who are you to be the moral authority, or anyone to be the moral authority on what we get? I'm like, I don't care what you take, and I'm not telling them to censor it, but that is significant enough that there should probably be a warning. Hey, for those of you in the board game community who buy these cute little card games with anime artwork to play with your kids and family, maybe you want to know that in that box there are 6 sets of cards that depict from a progression of stages of a female adventurer who is getting her clothing and armor ripped off panel by panel until she's nude with things barely covering her illicit areas and getting raped and looking like she's enjoying it. It's just weird. And of course, people... I understand the need to say, like, if anything smacks of censorship, to be upset about that. But I think that there's also a reasonable middle ground between informing people and then letting people make their own choices. You shouldn't just surprise people, I guess is what I'm saying. But I'm very happy about that, by the way, to answer your question. In my group, we made an achievement list for 2016 to beat all Elder Gods and Eldritch Horror. So far, we have only beaten the Elder Things, which are the easiest ones. We are doing hard ones to begin with. Oh, really? I thought the Elder Things were easy. Maybe I'm mixing it up. Any tips for Shub Niggurath? Tell him to get a better name because it sounds very naughty. No. I don't have tips. That game, I love Eldritch Horror, but it's very random. And sometimes you just do well without meaning to, and sometimes you do really poorly against the easy ones. It just happens. What the hell? Sorry, wiping my nose disgustingly. What a gross, gross person. Hey Nick, do you think you're okay? You're gonna re-ask that at some point, I assume. Very soon after the Darkest Night 2.0 was announced, you said you would do a preview for it. Did you contact them, or did they contact you for that? Think your reviews influenced them to do a second edition? They contacted me about that. Did I have anything to do with it? I don't know. Rado was a big fan of that as well, and I think we're the only two amongst major reviewers. And I think he has a little more influence than me. So, if any reviewer did, it was probably him. But maybe I was like another hat in the ring. But I think a lot of fans of the game were like, hey, we love this game, and we really want other people to play it. We're okay with it like this, because I was okay with it like that, but hey, newer, bigger edition, get more fans. Because that's my one problem with the game, is this, it needs more attention. And I think that if Nemo's War did it as well as it did, this game is going to be gangbusters. At least that's the hope. I think it's a better version of Pandemic, at least the original Pandemic, and with a fantasy theme and great artwork. And now it'll have the kind of board and maps and miniatures that it deserves. What IP or license has been used the worst by multiple devs and publishers? Any that have made comebacks? I don't know. There was a really crappy Assassin's Creed game put out by Cryptozoic, and then that just kind of died. No one even bothered to do anything else with it. Adventure Time has been used pretty poorly. Even that one big box game that I reviewed was just barely okay. Yeah, not great. There haven't been, there should be a Metroid one, right? I think there should be a Metroid one. That'd be cool. Have you read Ready Player One? No, but a very nice fan sent that to me, and I need to read it, and I'm very upset with myself for not making the time to read it. I've heard that this follow-up book was awful, though. Kind of kills my excitement to enjoy it, though. Have you read the Night Angel trilogy by Brent Weeks? No. I've heard of Brent Weeks, but I haven't heard of the Night Angel trilogy. I will make a note of it. I will consider it. Sometimes I like sounding arrogant, and because it's funny, because there's absolutely no reason to be. Greetings from a Swede in Taiwan. That's interesting. I love your stuff, so thanks for your hard work. Thank you. Wait a minute. Maybe you don't have a question here. I don't just read the comments that are flattering to me, but I thought you had a question. Oh, here we go. I love complex story RPG types of games, but they always take forever to set up. Do you have any tips to reduce the setup time, both for initial setup and also change between scenarios? Arcadia Quest, Journey, Shadows of Brimstone, and the like. Sure. Make a new wing of your house with the table set up with just the game on it forever and ever. No, I'm sorry. I feel your pain. This is like a common thing, and I think I'd play Descent more often if that was the case. I'd actually have a regular group to do that. The same with a lot of games that I have, but it's tough. It's just one of those things you just kind of have to deal with. I always recommend, if you're going to do that, have it be the first game that you play for the night if you're doing a whole game night with other games, and set it up ahead of time and just get it all worked out before, so people don't have to watch you setting up, which is the most awkward thing. By the way, I don't take my own advice, but you should do that. But if you're doing more than one scenario, I think what's your main question, there's no easy way around that, my friends. Sorry. But you get better at it as time goes on. You can also do like organizers and make sure that everything is in its neat place so that you don't have to... Time spent searching for certain pieces is just going to trip you up. What game in your library is the most underrated? What game is the most turkey for you? Most turkey for me. Meaning, I don't know exactly. Do you mean like a game that is overrated? I don't know. But I'll answer the first part at least. The game that is most underrated, there's probably many. A lot of them are obscure Japanese games. But the one that I will give as an example now because it is in the forefront of my mind, I just saw it on sale again yesterday on Cool Stuff, or maybe it was the day before, was Shinobi Wata. Which, look, I don't want to oversell that game. It creeps in near like the 90 to 100 mark on my top 100 list. I think it's a very good game with fantastic artwork. It's a very simple set collection game with some take-that elements, but the advanced game has this really cool, almost worker placement type aspect that's influenced by what you do with the interstitial take that card game elements. And it's just a very neat little game, and it just didn't do anything. And it's sad to me. I just think it's a neat game. But am I saying that it should have been uber popular? No, it's not for everybody, but that's how a lot of games are. Listen, if you really want to get down to it, I think Kingdom Death is still underrated. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the highest rated games per its number of ratings on Board Game Geek, but it's still at like it's just about to crack into the top 500. That thing should be in the top 10. Motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. But that's me. It's going to be different for everybody. Any chance of seeing new Thunderstone Advance content? That is the question, isn't it? Hell, forget that for a moment. People are just wondering whether the game is actually going to be in print. It's out of print. I'm amazed by it. I really thought that Thunderstone was selling at least well enough for AEG, but AEG has moved on to other things. They seem to be having much more success with their trains and planes and automobiles line, even though I think planes was a total dud. But just selling more variants of Love Letter and all these other little Japanese games. Smash Up, they seem to be having better luck with that, I guess. If Thunderstone was selling really well, I don't care what their production line is like, they'd still be putting it out. But they're not. They're just letting it kind of die. And I don't know. I can't really explain it. So new content? No. But who knows? I think that game will have another revival, but hopefully it's just to reprint it because I don't see a reason to redo it again like they did with Thunderstone to Thunderstone Advance. But it's a good game. Do you ever drill down on a single game? It seems like the nature of your channel would keep you from ever doing that. There are games that we just play a lot because they're quick and they're fun and they're just very popular with the group. Seasons, of course, was like that for a while, and Seasons still gets more play than a lot of the other games in my collection. And I'll usually just say, all right, I'll play and teach, because that's just it. Kingdom Death is something I'm personally just delving and putting a lot of my time into, and I've spent the last couple weeks just like buffing it up and laminating cards and things like that. But yeah, it's tough, and I will say that's one of the things that it's definitely a first world problem, but I lament that I don't have the time to really explore the depths of games. And I think if my channel ever gets to a point where I'm comfortable with it and I think it is growing at a steady pace, I'm going to do some things to fix that. I'm going to limit my review schedule, limit my preview schedule, and just do like a few reviews and one or maybe no previews at a certain point at a time, and and the occasional top 10, and leave it at that. And that will allow me more time to just enjoy the games that I've already loved, because I think that's the best thing to do personally. Let's see. Adam is spouting socialist nonsense. You keep at it, Adam. You keep chasing those windmills. As I heard one local conservative. I listen to a lot of conservative talk radio because I hate myself. No, it's because it's not much to listen to on the radio around here, and it's actually, they can be entertaining at least, even if I diametrically oppose everything that they stand for. And one guy was talking about Bernie Sanders as being like Don Quixote chasing the windmills futilely, which I disagree with, but there you go. Looking forward to your top 10 solo games. Any idea when it will be posted? Your guess is as good as mine. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry that I even made a pronouncement that it would be soon, because I just, no expectation I could deliver on that. I'm so far behind, and there's just, the problem is there's a lot of games I want to try before I make the list, and I feel negligent if I don't. Like, Assault on Doomrock. I want to play Mage Knight solo again. Yeah, maybe there's not a ton. I think tomorrow, if I have free time, I'm going to make a list and see what I can do about that. By the way, we've only got 66 people watching. That's a shame. That's down significantly from the last few weeks. That's probably because my content hasn't been going up as quickly as it should be. I don't know. I don't understand Bane's question. I wonder if this Dick in the BGG store situation had a Skeletor avatar. Oh, no. Okay. You're talking about the guy who I was quoting with my exaggerated voice. No, but I know who you're talking about. The Skeletor avatar guy. Skeletor with the Santa hat. That guy's a dick, but... Oh, Ninja All-Stars. That's with NAS. Okay. It was supposed to be a League-style miniatures game like Star Wars Armada. How do you prep for that? I don't think reviewers are playing it that way. I'm not going to. Okay. There's a big difference between it can be played as a tournament-style game or, it must be played as a tournament-style game. You can play Chaos Ball as a tournament-style game, and there are league rules for it, but I still enjoyed the game without doing that, so... hopefully that's not the case. And if it is, it's still worth being reviewed and me saying, hey, this is stupid. Why would they do that? I've been starting to consider getting Kingdom Death Monsters, but the number of components and size of the rulebook is a bit intimidating. Is it the huge commitment it seems? The commitment is in putting the miniatures together, and if you want to paint them, that's your prerogative. You don't have to, obviously. But if you want to use it and get the full experience, you need to at least put them together. So that's a commitment of time. But the commitment is just the campaign. The game, I was just talking about how Ninja All-Stars was meant to be, may potentially be meant to be played as a tournament. I don't know that yet. I could tell you for sure, though, that Kingdom Death Monster is meant to be played in a campaign. Like, I was just talking to a very, very good friend of mine last night on the phone, and she asked if I could play Kingdom Death with her, and I said, well, yeah, but I can't just say, hey, let's knock out a quick game of Kingdom Death. It's not how it works. Because you play it, and then you're like, oh, great, now we go back to the village, or our settlement, and we equip, and we buy new items, and then we go out and do it again. It's meant to be played again and again and again. That's how the game works. And so that's the commitment of time. Actually learning the game and setting it up each time is actually not that bad. It's actually as difficult or less difficult than, like, Descent, for instance. It's not like an immensely... extremely heavy rule set. It seems that way, especially if you look at the forum threads, and there's a lot of little niche details, but the general thrust of it, if you've played D&D before, if you've played any kind of dungeon crawling or Descent style board game before, you'll pick up most of it right away. The intricacy comes in, again, assembling the game and just playing it from route to route. There's a lot involved with the settlement phase. I don't know. I just think that you should look at your collection and see if you have games like any of the ones I just mentioned. And if you're okay with those, you could be okay with that. There's other reasons you may not go into Kingdom Death Monster, like the price tag. But other than that... Did you ever read the original Shannara trilogy? I did not. There's a lot of fantasy books I missed. I spent a lot of my time reading D&D novels. Back when I used to know how to read. I'd read other things other than Q&A questions. Zombie 15 almost takes more time setting up than it does to play. Well, that is the conundrum, isn't it? And you are right. Turkey, a game that you loved and now don't. If it's a game that I loved and now don't, unless I'm just not seeing it on a day-to-day basis and I forgot about it, it's not in my collection anymore. In fact, I'm getting rid of a bunch of stuff that's to my patrons this month that's fine games. I just don't love it anymore. What's your favorite combo of characters when playing Eldritch Horror solo? The thing is, every time I've played Elder Scrolls Solo, it's with new stuff, so I don't have like a dream team quite yet. I wish I was part of the Kingdom Death Monster Elites. Nah, you're fine. There's so many games to play. Don't worry about it. You know what? I get really excited about Kingdom Death, and I love sharing posts about it, but it's never my intention to make people feel bad about it. Like, haha, you suckers! Because it's just not a game for everybody. For all you know, it might be a game that you hate. But I'm more than willing to run a tutorial session if a bunch of you want to come down here on a bus for one of my game nights. Okay, I remember hearing about a game for couples. You each draw a card that has tests, I think you have to do within a week, but if your significant other calls you on it, task is what you probably meant to say. But if your significant other calls you on it, you lose that card. Whoever does the most wins. I can't remember its name. Anyone know? I don't know. I'm sure that game exists, but I think that game has existed forever. In other words, like couples have made their own version of that game forever. Like I'm making this coupon booklet for you, and you can claim these coupons or some weird thing like that. Which game, if any, has moved you to reconsider previously held assumptions? For me, it's Concepts. Did not realize how narrowly we think due to language constraints. That's a very, very great example, actually. Let's see. Previously held assumptions. Well, I mean, listen. Being still sort of a journeyman board game enthusiast at this point, because I've only been into the hobby for 4 years, not even quite 4 years, in a hardcore way, I mean, I would say that games, a lot of these social deduction games, like The Resistance, when I played it the first time, really like blew my mind as far as what was possible, because I really thought to that point, a board game is either just moving pieces on a board or playing cards down on the table, and that's that. The idea that you would have to interact with people and lie and deceive and read people was like, and now it's opened up this whole world, and it's still a fascinating thing to me personally, even though people might be very cynical about it at this point. Let's see, we're getting close to the end here. I kind of want to end on time today, if you guys don't mind, but I started on time for once, so that should equal out, right? Which game, in retrospect, do you believe you hyped too much? What aspect of the game blinded you at the time? Oh, there's probably more than one example of that, but the one that I think of the most is One Night Ultimate Werewolf, which I thought was okay. And then, because, I don't know, my review of it, I think, is probably way more excited than it should be. I think I was actually drunk when I recorded it, and I hate that game now. So that, for sure, I don't know if I hyped it, but I definitely regret that, and I've thought about deleting the video. Something about that makes me hesitate, though. I don't like deleting a review that I put up unless I got a major rule wrong, which I've done maybe once or twice I've done that. But other games I've probably hyped too much. I don't know. I'm sure there's others I can think of, but I've been pretty content to say, this game is fine, or this game is amazing, and I still hold on to it. Are you getting Conan by Monolith? It's been delayed for a while. They were supposed to ship Gen Con last year. Ha! Did you bite on that? I did, and I'm waiting as well with everyone else. Listen, that game was huge and immense, and Kingdom Death has completely broke me of being upset about time of games coming out. Do you realize that we're just getting our expansion shipped to us, hopefully within the next week? I mean, we've all put in our surveys, hopefully. And it's February of 2016. Kingdom Death funded January of 2013. So we all just got our base games in September, and we're just getting all the other content. So it's hard to be upset about Conan being, 6 months late. Mage Knight. Board Game Bliss is taking pre-orders. Is it a good buy? What do you mean? Like the original Mage Knight? Or do you mean Mage Knight? You don't mean Mage Knight the board game, right? Let's take a look. I don't keep up with their pre-orders like I should, like a good freelance employee of the store that I am. Let's see what we got here. Not Mage Knight. Mage Knight! Oh, why? Is it just a new edition? No, not a new edition. Is it just a new printing? Why is it on pre-order? I don't understand. It's really expensive. Oh, I mean, it's a perfectly reasonable price. Do you ever get a copy? Did you ever get a copy of Journey of the Wrath of Demons core set? I know it's only on Amazon. I didn't even know it was on Amazon. No, because I asked them for a review copy and they ignored me completely, so I was kind of pissed off. They could have at least said no. Let's see. How much is that garbage? Holy crap! Yeah, okay, that's a lot of money. Maybe that's why they didn't send me one. $145? But what do you get with it? That's, oh my god. Yes, I know this is coming from the Kingdom Death guy, but still. That game would have to be amazing. And there's one 1-star review as well. Yeah, apparently it's been out for a while. Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I want to play it. I'm interested in the theme. Nick, where's my Besiege review? Up your butthole. No, it's coming soon. It might still be up there, too. I always felt Kingdom Death Monster was Monster Hunter and Berserk. I wish I had the funds to buy it. That's actually what people keep saying. It's definitely Berserk as far as dark fantasy art style. I always tell people there's a difference between light fantasy and dark fantasy. This is dark. Where there's like a picture in the book of cannibals eating humans. And not just like implied, like them tearing the muscle off of their bones. That kind of thing. But I never played Monster Hunter. But yes, I definitely heard that comparison a number of times. Let's see. I might have Hoplomachus. Do I have that game? I feel like someone sent me that game. Huh. But yes, they're saying I should try that for the solo list. Interesting. Did you read the Dragonlance novels? I read the Dragonlance trilogy. Like the trilogy. The one that started it all off. Like Dragons of Spring Twilight or whatever the hell they were called. And I was quite entertained by the first book and did not like the other two books. And the third book I thought was awful. Because I felt like I was reading a synopsis because there were several other novels going on around it, and then it felt like those novels were just a convergence for all these other separate storylines. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is this person doing this? Why is that person there? What? Why? How do they have history together? It was just a mess, I thought. But I liked the first book. And I was never a fan of the Dragonlance universe. I kind of don't understand people who love it compared to Forgotten Realms. There's people who are like, oh, Dragonlance is the best. All these other crap that they're bothering with. And I always felt Dragonlance was super generic. The only thing that was interesting about it was maybe the aspect of like the Tachesis and the dragon orbs and all that stuff. And the Draconians. But other than that, it just felt like really generic fantasy. And Raceland was interesting. But, I don't know. How do you feel about the scent balance between the Overlord and the heroes? Do you think it gets better in following expansions? Do you remember important rules that change a lot of the balance? To be honest, I have played Descent several times, and I enjoy it greatly. I cannot comment on the balance. I've had games that go either way, but I haven't. It's one of those weird things. I think to really comment on the balance, unless it feels really out of the whack, you have to play it a lot and consistently. And I haven't even played through every scenario in the base game. I know that the latest expansion they put out only has stuff for the Overlord, and perhaps they felt that the Overlord was underpowered for that reason. I don't know. How is it that it's 12:59, but my YouTube clock says that I've only been streaming for 52 minutes. I don't know. I don't understand. Huh. All right, I'm going to go to whatever the hour clock says on YouTube. So good for you. You guys are going to get some extra time. Do you have any interest in light economic games? Sometimes I like to stockpile a little bit. I like to stockpile quite a bit. Do any of your games have a wooden insert in them, like from the Broken Token or Daedalus Productions? No, I don't understand the obsession with these inserts. Sorry. They're so expensive. A lot of times the inserts are as expensive as the base game, depending on where you shop. And I would rather buy games. Sorry. But, and I don't know. Sorry, I rubbed my nose again grossly. I get cynical about it because I think to myself, well, I see what happens. I don't have to think about it. I see that one company puts out some inserts, they get some attention, they make some money on Kickstarter because they all fund them through Kickstarter, and then 15 more companies pop up doing the same thing. And the truth is, they're all just doing it with these very easy to buy, easy to purchase, easy to work laser cutters, and nothing is all that particularly innovative about any of them. So, and they all just do the same thing. I don't know. It's something I just feel very cynical about. Is there a bus from Toronto to your house? Probably. I have no basis for that. Do you think that Tabletop Simulator could be a great way to test games for the future? Would you give it a try? I wouldn't use it. I just don't have any interest in using that or Tabletopia or anything like that. But it could be interesting for people who want to play test a game. And I could definitely see that. Better than making a crappy looking physical prototype, right? Actually, I might use Tabletopia. I have a very good friend who lives far away from me, and I'd love to be able to play games with her. So that's a good idea, actually. Burning Suns may be in the same situation as Kingdom Death Monster. I'm really excited for that game. Yeah, that game, I didn't back that, but that game has seemed to be like moving into the mists of legend. It's been a long time. What's your favorite Arnold one-liner? You son of a bitch. I am laughing at Nick laughing at the Canadian dollar. Yes. Any thoughts on the Secret Hitler gameplay? To be honest, I haven't read the rules from front to back on that. But it seems like just a revised version of the Resistance. Any themes you think would be banned from hitting the market? Well, yes. One would hope that rapey slime fantasies would, but that apparently hasn't been the case. But again, that wasn't picked up by a major market publisher. So, have you tried Codenames with Dixit cards yet? No. Maybe I'll actually do that tonight. I have a bunch of people coming over. Do you think your remarks on the reviewers being friends with publishers influenced the Board Game Breakfast segment, Board Game Breakfast 114? I have no idea. I don't watch that show anymore. I don't watch anything on the Dice Tower, so your question, your guess is as good as mine. So I have no idea. But I will say this, and this is something I was just talking about with a friend again recently. It's an interesting point that I thought about, which is, if you're a board game reviewer, you have the opportunity to meet a lot of people. I interact with hundreds of fans all the time, and I do meet with publishers and designers, but there's also a lot of people who are other reviewers, bloggers, vloggers, whatever, who I talk to all the time. There's and if I was to actually go to conventions, I'd meet a plethora of more people, fans in person, just all kinds of people who work for distributors and, things like that. There's all kinds of people that you can meet and interact with and be friends in the business. Why would you feel compelled to be friends only with the designers and publishers more than anyone else and be very noticeable and public about it? Perhaps it's the prestige, like, ooh, look at this. I know Eric Lang. It's amazing. He knows my name. We're friends. It's so great. Okay. That's fine. What do you think they're getting out of it? Like, why would they need to be friends with you? That's an honest question, right? Because you're so amazing? Because you're such an amazing and better friend than any of these other tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people involved in the hardcore board gaming community? Or could it be, maybe they think if they're friends with you, if you like them, you're going to get special attention. Is that possible? Maybe. Maybe, even if you say for sure, as a reviewer, that that's absolutely not possible, that can't possibly be the case and that you're wrong, maybe you just don't do that anyways to eliminate the doubt and hesitation that people feel about it. Maybe you just don't leave the open question out there as whether your integrity is in question or in check or not. It's a thought, right? Just a thought. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Actually, I'll say this. I'll answer this one last question because I don't want to end on too negative of a note. Do you ever want to review older games, or do new games get the views your channel needs? I would love to review older games. Need to be, for the channel at least, I'll play older games, but for the channel, I need to rush to review newer ones too. And that is the cynical part of the business. Of course, they get more views. And, you know, it is more of a customer service thing too. People are more likely to buy games that have just come out on the market. And so I would like to put out reviews that are as helpful and informative to people as possible, and those are the most helpful for people right this second. But older games shouldn't be ignored, and there are definitely older games in my collection that should be reviewed, and one day I'll get around to them, like Battlestar Galactica. So one day. All right, guys, and my feed is starting to screw up too, so this is a good time to end. But thank you all so much. As I've said many a time, I do enjoy greatly doing these Q&As with you. I love all of you guys and gals out there, and I hope that you continue to watch. I'll have some really cool reviews and some cool stuff coming up. I keep telling people that there is some really great stuff in store for the channel over the next like 6 months. It could be kind of a wait to get to it, but hopefully you guys will hang in there. So thank you very much, and have a fantastic weekend. I sincerely mean that. Take care.